The wise man gets on a boat for a joyride. Oh, boatman, do you know why the sun rise? Do you know the reason of the moon's waning? Do you know what causes the high tides? The boatman just laughs in surprise. The scholar says, oh, you have just wasted your life. The wise questions again after some moments. Old man, do you know why the sky is blue? Why the mountains stand? Why the rivers are true? The boatman just laughs and nods his head. The scholar says, there is nothing more to say. Ah, you are such a dread. And then there was a storm, and the waves rose high. The wise man feared that he would die. Shouted, oh, boatman, what kind of danger is this? Is the boat going to sink? Will I drown in this abyss? The boatman asked, do you know how to swim? No, said the wise. Ah, such a waste to the brim. All that you learn, O wise, it is valueless unless you save yourself, or else it is just a mess. Very good evening. This is Shaunak from Asian College of Teachers. We welcome you heartily to another show from Asian College of Teachers. The basic essence of the poem which I just recited is that whatever knowledge you have, whether it is of anything, it doesn't carry any meaning until you know the techniques of saving yourself. And what is the technique of saving for a teacher? That is exactly our point of discussion. Today, we have got ourselves with one person, Bhavna. She is joining as a consultant. She is working as a consultant English teacher for Lingua Phila Hubs based out of United Kingdom. She has got more than 11 years of knowledge with an independent pre-primary secondary school in United Kingdom. And specifically, she has been helping to learn the difficult professional, the SPLD, Specific Learning Difficulty Professional. Bhavna is also a certified TEFL graduate teacher, and she brings along with us a variety of knowledge to enrich ourselves in this particular show, which we call Techniques of English Teaching to the Speakers of Other Language. We welcome Bhavna, right joining here directly from London, United Kingdom. Bhavna, a very warm welcome from Asian College of Teachers to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So Bhavna, as we have been trying to get a conclusion that the boatman only knew the skill that is to swim. The wise man told a lot of things, but it ultimately doesn't matter until you know the techniques of teaching. So if I may ask you the question that what do we actually mean by speakers of other languages?
Okay, so speakers of other languages include a different language you're learning. So your native language could be Spanish, it could be Italian, which is known as L1. So again, that's your first language. The second language is something that you're learning. So it could be English, it could be Italian. So that's known as L2. So speakers of other languages are known as L2.
Right. Thank you. So what you told that the first one being L1 and L2. So with that, an obvious pertinent question comes that as you have been into teaching for quite a long time with special children, as well as into English teaching. So from your point of view, what do you think that what plays an important role? Like, is it basically the language which sometimes comes as a barrier, or it acts as a kind of an advantage to the students? Like, how would you tell on this?
Okay, I would say language can be a barrier. Not knowing how to speak another language can bring a barrier to like communicating. So ideally it would be wise to like learn that language, maybe in bite-sized steps for you to learn English or speak English.
Right. So according to you, it cannot be a barrier. Like it is a free-flowing nature.
Not at all. I don't think anything can be a barrier as long as you work hard, you focus. It's all about you wanting to progress. So it's like learning anything. If you wanted to learn I don't know, if you wanted to learn gardening, you'd go out and learn it. And there's lots of resources available to do that. So you could learn, you can learn through your family or your friends, or you could learn by going to a school or a college. I don't think there's no barrier to anything. You can achieve whatever you want if you put your mind to it.
Right. As you are into United Kingdom and the type of, I would say, the culture in terms of language, in terms of knowing people is concerned, what is a kind of a, if you can just give us an example, what is like when you get a you know, classroom of people coming from multifarious backgrounds? So, like, how do you deal with them? What would be the basic idea behind taking a class with those kind of people?
That would be very interesting, actually. You've got a wide variety of individuals from different cultures. So I think it's a great way of, doing, what do we call it? An icebreaker where you find out a bit about each other using.
Just to, sorry to interfere, you are not audible. If you can just
Oh,
sound a little bit, yeah,
is that better?
yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I would say it's an excellent idea of playing a group introduction as a whole, using basic English skills where each one can say a limited amount, introducing themselves. So I could say, I'm Bhavna, I am from the UK. And another person could say, I am someone, I am from Italy. So it's a great way to build the communication up.
So what you are telling is that possibly the introduction or the initiation should be in such a way that the entire crowd or the multi-language people should come to know that what exactly. Can you just cite a kind of a typical example, if I can ask you, like what you actually use in the classroom in order to introduce or kickstart the session?
Yes, of course. So I'll give you an example. Hello, welcome to my English class. I'm Bhavna, so I'm your teacher. I am from London. So I would like you all to say something about yourself. So I'll go in a circle and I'll pick one of you to speak.
And what do you do in general if you find, I would say, we know we have active learners and passive learners.
Mm-hmm.
In case there are passive learners who are not responding to the initiation, like what are the steps that you generally take?
Sometimes I can use flashcards where there's writing on them. So you can show that flashcard, or that person can show the flashcard.
Okay.
So introducing themselves as words, and then maybe writing their name on the board, which is maybe might be a bit easier rather than speaking. That's another way.
Okay, so using flashcards, that is an important part, like in order to.
It's another aid to use, yes.
Right. And like typically, if I speak of the culture that you are catering to from a day-to-day kind of class, what are they like? If I talk of the United Kingdom as a whole, sitting here from India, that we generally try to gauge like what is happening out there in the class. So can you cite a kind of a real life example? What actually, like in the morning, you open the door, you walk inside the classroom, and how would you will start and initiate the process, and generally what are the challenges that you face?
Okay, so in the morning, walk into the classroom, and just reflecting back of, okay, this is my day has begun. I've got these fantastic students, I'm going to teach them. There may be barriers, but also having that plan, if there is a setback, have I got that? What am I going to do to back it up with? Have I got another backup? So it's always a good idea as a teacher to have a backup plan in place. If something doesn't work, if you're teaching something and your students do not understand, always have a second backup there.
Nice point. Thank you very much. Just to remind those who are joining late in our show that we are speaking with Bhavna Kawa directly from London, United Kingdom, and we are speaking on techniques of English teaching to the speakers of London language. So one point which she has made clear is that we need to have a backup plan in order to start the session. So if I may ask you the next part, which automatically comes after the backup plan, that
Yeah.
the lesson plan should be planned when there is a wide range of multifarious culture in a typical classroom. So what are the type of people that you generally face, like in the school that you are teaching in? What are the different languages most often that you find people, students, and how do you make a kind of a lesson plan to adjust with their learning?
Right. Okay. So in my previous schools I've worked with, I've come across a wide range of learners who have had different ways or types of learning. So we call this VAC. So it's visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. So visual learners learn through written language. So they're no good at like tactile stuff. So that it's like pen and paper, what's displayed on the board, that it's easier for them to learn. So that's one aspect. Auditory is they will often talk to themselves. So they may move their lips, they may read out loud, they may have difficulty with reading and writing tasks. So they'll often do better to talk to a colleague or a tape recorder and hearing what's said to them. For example, begin a new material with a brief explanation of what is coming so they can conclude it with a summary of what has been covered. That's an auditory. Kinetic would be touching, moving. It's more tactile. So these types of learners are able to engage more. They're able to remember because then they're using their hands. They're able to see what they're doing. They're able to manipulate the material that they're using. So these learners are better at remembering things and how to do things. It's easier for them to learn.
True. So, as you rightly told, that BAC would be a typical approach in which we take. What about if I use the term superposition? I'm trying to make things clear, like if the auditory and the kinesthetics, and there is an overlapping. So, is it becomes difficult for the trainer to know that?
Not at all. Not at all. Because you can combine both into one. You could have one resource and use another resource, which is from the different kind of like areas. So it's an advantage more than it is a disadvantage. Um, they're able to learn using two types of techniques. So it's not an issue at all.
Right. And if I may ask you, like when you are starting into a classroom, if I
Mhm.
specifically take United Kingdom, like when you start the program, I just want to understand that the types of technique that we teach here in Asian College of Teachers, we have corporate training programs, we
Mhm.
have TEFL programs, and we have TEFL in-class programs running all across India. And now with the present COVID situation, we have coupled that up with the webinar sessions. So
Okay.
in case that so in case that you are facing that kind of a webinar instead of a classroom where there's 13 boxes or 14 boxes are popping up in front of you. So do you consider that to be a real challenge, or do you think that you have certain tips to give to the student or the teachers in order to cope up with this situation, overcome the barriers of learning of BSc model?
It can be a challenge doing it online, maybe. I think here, because of lockdown and because everybody's working from home, we've almost got used to this idea. It's not, I wouldn't say it's a new way of learning because it's been happening for a while. We've got used to it. And I think it's an advantage. It's a good way to, to communicate, to engage, to, set up meetings, all of that. So yeah, I don't, there's no barrier to it. I think it's an advantage.
Okay. In the classes that you are teaching, especially in United Kingdom, like when we start with the classroom, making these activities and the lesson plans, how do you find that the students are responding? Like, I mean to say, I'm trying to understand that culturally, what would be the barrier or what would be the difference that you find there, and what are the measures that you take in order to overcome them?
Okay. The students that I teach online currently, no problem at all. They're fantastic. You will get times where they are unmotivated, you'll get times where they'll switch off the screen and run away. It's like they'll come back to you. Um,
Right.
so yeah, they are your barriers, but you've got to try and think, okay, how can I make this exciting? What can I do to like engage them? And it's, I find with my current students, it's having those props there, or giving them praise, like, so well done, you've done really well in this lesson. Um, and how I start the lesson is always by engaging with them. How was your day today? What did you do? Did you do anything exciting? So building that relationship, just having that general chat with them before the lesson, I think makes all the difference. It's not like you're going into the lesson, you're going to start teaching, and it's like you need to have that little downtime before you start, and then just gently ease them in. So I will say, okay, we're now going to start our lesson. So I always kind of structure it, and I'll say, we're going to do half an hour of reading. So I'll give them the option. We can either do shared reading, or you can just read. So I give them that option, and it's having that flexibility, which I think is important as a teacher and as your students. So yes. And then,
Yeah.
towards the end, having a little bit of downtime. So saying, oh no, you're doing really, really well in your lesson. You've learnt this. And giving that constructive feedback is important. And then, maybe having a game at the end of the lesson, just as a reward, which is great because they can go away. It's like, okay, I'm doing good today, and I can relax. So yeah.
Very well said. This is a wonderful learning that praising and keeping up the relationship with the students, that is what really works out. We always get this kind of an understanding that, especially, let us take United Kingdom, where we know the official language being English. So if the students are trying to move out after doing the TEFL course into different countries, say Spain, Italy, German, Japan, wherever it is. You as a teacher, do you think that a little bit of understanding of the native language of that particular country serves as an advantage? And if it is so, how?
Absolutely. If I was to go to another country, I would need to know their language. It's no good for me going to another country not knowing their native language. There'll be about communication barrier. Two, I'd be totally clueless in what I was like. I've come here, I'm teaching these, but I have no knowledge of their language. So number one is, if you're going to go anywhere to teach as a English language teacher, know the knowledge of their language. It's very, very important.
Very true. But it gives rise to another question, that if a person is going to say searching for jobs in Spain, Italy, Germany, or Japan, how many languages will they learn? So what would be your advice on that?
Sorry, can you say that again? Didn't quite hear you.
My question is that if a person is freelancing trainer, and
Yes.
he or she is moving to different countries,
Mhm.
German, Japan, Italy, France, etc. So question arises that how many languages can a person learn? So what would you advise on that?
Okay, well, that would just depend on where you're going. So if you wanted to let's say you just wanted to go to Germany, just stay in that one
Right.
particular place. Um,
German.
then,
Right.
yeah, so I would advise, if that's your long-term plan and that is where you want to stay, you pick up the basics. You're not going to learn the whole language, the whole vocab within, a couple of months. So, and if you did want to jump from one country to the next, yes, you can do it, but it's going to take work. You're going to have to learn, again, the basic languages of each country you're going to visit.
Yeah. So the thing is that we have got one question, if I may take you with
Yes,
your
of
permission.
course. Yes.
Yeah, Harjit Kaur is asking, Bhavna madam, how can I get teaching job opportunity in United Kingdom? I'm from India and TEFL certified. To answer this is the question that
That's
I'm
a good,
facing.
yeah. Okay, well,
Yeah.
so because you're from India, I would say you'd have to retrain to do your BA in QTS. So that's Qualified Teaching Certificate in the UK, because I think it's more widely recognised in the UK to do a teaching qualification. As you're already TROFL qualified, there's no problem. However, with your degree, you would need to back up with experience. So you would need that experience. You know, they all in the UK, they ask for, you know, have you had teaching experience? Can you back it up? Where have you worked? What skills can you bring with you, etc., etc.
So I thank you, Bhavna, for answering Harjit's question. Just a quick recap, those who are joining a little bit late, we are in conversation with Bhavna. She has directly joined from United Kingdom, and we are in talking with the techniques of teaching English as a foreign language. Bhavna has already enriched us with the BSc model and how praise and motivation and relationship with the students really helps. Particularly talking of this challenge, like what the students mostly ask me, that when I'm going to United Kingdoms, typically if I am willing to get in a job as an Indian, what do you think is your general opinion, that is it typically after doing a TEFL or a program like this, how will you look forward that getting a job into a native English speaking country vis-a-vis going to countries like who are not have got English as a mother tongue, like Spain, Italy, Germany?
Hmm.
Would you suggest more inclination towards the non-native countries, or still the native countries would be taking TEFL as a certified, depending upon the academic qualification? Your views, please.
I would say there's no such barrier, but it's advisable. English is a global speaking language. We all use it. It's, you know, if you were going to go to another country, English is your number one language you need to learn. No doubt about it. Everyone knows. So, yes, there may be barriers, but again, you can overcome these barriers. You know. So yeah.
So, like, as far as I have read, like I have talked with you at length, that primarily the key point is that you are teaching the special children,
Hmm. That's
right?
correct.
Right. So, would you consider that a candidate who has got a knowledge or an expertise on a specific skill, like you are into
Mhm.
special language, does it serve as an advantage in getting a job even in the native countries?
Um, yes, I think it does, because you've got that extra added skill. You've got that, you know, you've got your qualifications, you've got that experience. So you're able to engage a lot more. Um, you know, and I think it's a great idea if somebody wanted to like go abroad, teach a child who's or teach children maybe who have got different abilities, and you're able to bring your experience with you, maybe provide new skills, you know. So yeah.
We just got another question quickly from
Mhm.
Ronak Swain. I think that is a very pertinent question. Now, he's asking that, Madam, what is the scenario to get a job in European countries like Lithuania, Luxembourg, Slovakia, Czechoslovakia, etc., or the former Soviet Union? Are they giving jobs to Indian teachers as we are non-native? Any idea, Bhavna, on this?
Oh, I'm not quite sure on that, but what I would advise is research. I mean, there's a website actually which I can recommend, and it's called TEFL Graduates. It's where I done my learning quite recently during lockdown. They have a website which lists all the jobs and it gives you all the information. Um, I'm not quite sure on how to answer that question, but the information is all on that website. And even if you do a Google search, you should get, you know, a whole list. But yeah.
Thank you very much. Just one thing which comes automatically, like when you are teaching for, I'm into say English as a language to the
Yeah.
young people, uh, making them understand about the metaphor. Say, for example, like it can like as white as a snow or as clear as the sky.
Yes.
Does it come as a difficulty for you to make understand those who don't understand English or the English
Yeah.
metaphors?
Yes, absolutely. Right. So you said as white as snow. Yes, this can be difficult for, you know, non-speaking English individuals. So what I have found is using pictures of some form.
Okay.
So having the color white and having a picture of snow and saying, you know, white as snow. So almost having two kinds of images and blending them together sometimes works, which I've done in my teaching. And yes, these are the kind of techniques that work with some kids.
Okay. So that is, I think that's a convenient way to convey the metaphor to them.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I learn. And I thought this is the easiest way I'm going to learn it. So I
Yeah,
think it's a
absolutely.
great idea to like pass it on.
Sure. And what, like, you have been many years into teaching, so you have got varied experience. If I may ask you, like, I know that it would be difficult for you, might say that, no, Shaunak, this is how I can tell you. What would you rank, like, if I take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the basic 5 parameters that you see in a teacher, irrespective of country, discipline, etc. What do you, according to you, would be the 5 top points as a teacher?
I would say clear communication is number one, empathy, patience, of course, I think we all know that. Being approachable. You need to be approachable to your students because, you know, you don't want your students to shy away from you. And generally just engaging with them. I'd say they're my top 5.
Sure. So clear communication, empathy, uh, in order to engage around people. So when you talk about this point, like clear communication,
Mhm.
what precisely you mean that? Is it the accent, or is it a neutral accent? Is it something which I can convey what I'm thinking in terms of clear? What would you specify when we mean by, because it's very generic term, clear communication. So
Of
if you can
course,
just
yes.
throw some light on us.
I would say just neutral communication, like how I'm talking to you right now. You know, not building it up to anything more than that. Just generally communicating with them. Um, you know, and being approachable. Yes.
Right. So, as Bhavna told, it's a very important point which I would like to make to the audience, that it is basically how I am conveying my thoughts. And it is better that we have a kind of a neutral accent to that. So, just to take this point forward, in United Kingdom, being an Indian, for example, I'm a graduate along with a TEFL certificate. I have a clear criminal background. I'm presentable, and I'm going forward for a job as an English teacher. It might even be a subject teacher, that I'm good in maths and physics.
Mhm.
What would be the most coveted certification, or which is the most, I would say, the most, the authority what they want in United Kingdom to become an English teacher after completing TEFL?
Okay, so it would either be, now there can be a wide range. It can either be you can have a BA in English language.
Okay.
That's one. But with that, you would still need to do your QTS, which is a
What is
certified teacher qualification. With your TROFL qualification, this TEFL qualification allows you to work around the world. So I can go and teach in India. I could go and teach in Spain.
right?
So with my TROFL, I could still work here, but I would need my BA in teaching as a degree to teach here. So you could do a degree in engineering, but you'd still need your we call it a PGCE, which is a specialist teaching qualification. So you could do your PGCE after you've done any discipline of your degree. However, if you just wanted to be a teacher and you had your mindset on that, it's a QTS in the UK.
Okay, and what would be the procedure like? Is it like they have a website where the students can apply for this QTS, and how to go about?
Right. So once you've done your, let's say, college, you would go on to, you'd research the universities, and it's normally done online. So it depends on your grades and what grades you have got. There's a lot of universities nowadays that, they do their teaching qualification, so you can go straight in. You'd be interviewed, of course. There's a select few that they'll take in for an interview, whether, it could be just to generally question them, why do you want to do this course? Why do you want to be a teacher? So, and then your course can be 3 years or it can be 4 years. So 3 years will just be of study. 4 years is you have your placement year in a school. You might be guaranteed a job after you've done your degree. So that's how it generally tends to work here in the UK.
As you rightly told that I have been in our placement session, I pointed this figure. It is good that we have got you. I would like to stress to the audience, and we'll just try to extend a few more minutes with this question, which you told that why you want to become a teacher. Now, this is a very pertinent question, Bhavna, which I face with my students. So when we deal with this part, like in an introductory video, as you know, that it has become very important nowadays to make a video, and that is how they check your body language, etc. How would you, for such a prolonged period of experience you have, can you throw some light, like point what a person would speak on why I want to become a teacher? What would be the significant points? Your advices, please.
Okay, from my personal advice, I've always known that I wanted to teach, but I never done anything with it. And I thought, okay, so now is the time, let me try. I think number one, it's rewarding. You're giving something back, but you're also learning about your students. So you're able to like go away from the lesson and think, oh yeah, I could do this in the next lesson. It's having all those ideas. And it's nice because you see the journey of each of your students and how they're doing and how they're progressing. Also providing that encouragement is key, giving them that push to get to where they want to be, or so yeah.
True, true. We have just one very valid question from Gayatri GB. She's asking, Bhavna madam, having been in teaching for a long time, my question to you is, as a teacher for non-native speakers of English, is there any technique wherein you engage the students to communicate or practice speaking in English without switching back or forth in their local language, especially in India?
Yes. This can be a bit difficult at times. I think going into a class, just speak English throughout. It can be frustrating. I would advise having different props. So you're just pointing, but you're not speaking your native language, you're speaking English all the way throughout the lesson. That is the only way your students are going to learn quicker, I feel, as a person. So, yeah.
I think you are speaking more into a process of immersion, like you immerse them into whatever props or the ways you use, but you have to speak, dream, eat everything in English. Otherwise, they won't be.
Absolutely. I think from my point of view, it has worked with clients that I've taught previously, is just not like really difficult, but make it simple that they're able to understand. And I think you can kind of see progress, yes.
So, in that way, if I may just ask you one thing, that a career or an academic career with a thorough, I would say, a continuous career in English, right from bachelor's, then a master's, does that help? Or if there is a change of career, which most people come either from engineering or a management background and then going to teaching, what would be views on that?
Okay, there is no barrier. Doesn't matter whether you've done engineering, whether you've done a language in Spanish as a degree, whether you've done architecture, it doesn't matter, because if you've done those degrees, you can still do your PGCE, which is specifically in teaching. Now, with those qualifications that you've done your original degree in, you could teach in those subjects. You could teach in a college, and you could teach architecture, you could teach business studies. As long as you've got your PGCE, yes, you can do that. There is no barrier to it. There are ways around it, definitely.
That sounds very optimistic. So we have just come almost to the end of the session. Bhavna, I think that what you, to round up and summarize the discussion, is that we have got a very, very positive note from this discussion. The note first would be that there is no barrier in terms of language, number one. And in terms of whatever that you do, whether you are teaching into a native country or a non-native country, whatever be the academic background, still you can go forward as long as you are presentable, you are empathetic, and you can communicate things properly. So I would like to thank Bhavna for your time, joining far from United Kingdom, London. A heartfelt thank from Asian College of Teachers for joining with us. Thank you very much for the audience for a patient listening. I think it has been very enriching. We'll learn a lot of things, and most importantly, under these conditions, Bhavna has shown us a proper optimistic, clear picture where the sun is shining out there and we can see whatever be the barrier, be it language, be it academic, be it professional, we can still go out and we can get a job as an English teacher. This is Shauna.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, so thank you, Bhavna, joining with us, and have a great day ahead. This is Shaunak signing out from Asian College of Teachers. Stay tuned for the upcoming sessions. We are not done yet. Thank you very much. Thank you,
Thank
Bhavna.
you. Thank you.